This episode of the Local Insider Podcast is brought to you in part by My Patriot Supply. There are two things you can count on when you buy from My Patriot Supply: getting high quality food for the best value and the peace of mind that comes with knowing that you're prepared. The emergency food you'll depend on is made from the freshest ingredients. Meals are freeze-dried and sealed airtight with oxygen absorbers and closed in resealable heavy-duty 4-layer zipper packs for long-term storage that lasts up to 25 years. And they're all made in the USA. By ordering today, you'll have the peace of mind that only comes with the ability to feed yourself and those you love in any crisis situation. We think you'll agree you cannot put a price tag on the personal freedom that comes with being prepared. Visit localinsidershow.com/emergency food and pick up your 2-week or 4-week emergency food supply. Again, that's localinsidershow.com/emergency food. My next guests are a husband and wife living in Booneville, Arkansas. These U.S. veterans turned business owners opened their first business in 2013. We sat down to discuss how they manage 2 businesses full-time, raise a family of 3 boys, and stay active in community organizations, all while continuing to expand and develop their commercial real estate and future business ventures. In 2013, they opened an artisan soap company, making handmade soaps using natural ingredients that are great for your skin and easy on your wallet. They have since opened a second business, a specialty coffee roastery that roasts quality coffee beans from all over the world in a way that accentuates the natural flavors and aromas of the beans. While researching for this episode, I found that in the wet shaving niche, the name Stirling soap is synonymous with quality. A quick search on YouTube or Reddit, and you will soon see the name Stirling soap garners a loyal following, not seen since the early days of Apple. Please welcome to the show the owners of Stirling Roastery and now world-famous Stirling Soap Company, Rod and Mandy Lovan.
Welcome to the Local Insider Podcast, a show about everyday people who make a big difference.
Rod and Mandy, thanks for coming on the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Brian.
So you just got finished roasting some beans, huh?
Yeah, we had 4 to do today. We don't usually roast on Fridays, but we had a product release here earlier in the week, and so the orders demand it, and so we do it.
What is it like to be able to roast your own coffee beans?
It's really neat to take it from, when they're green, fresh out of the bag and everything, they smell like hay.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe it. And then, you get to transform it into, and as it roasts, you can smell them. So then they start to smell like baked bread, or peanuts sometimes. And then, you're drawing out the sugars. And so it's you can almost taste the sweetness of it, and it's really neat to do the research on the origins and how they're best roasted because of where they were grown and how they were grown or how they were processed, and then to take that and be able to put it in your cup and taste the difference between what you can get in the grocery store, but also if we roast it one way and it's super citric, and to take it back and change it and have a completely different cup of coffee is it's really neat to experiment with and things. It's similar to what we did with the soap company, all those years ago.
Mm-hmm. So are there different, I'm assuming there are different species of coffee beans, just like apples, and depending on where in the world you source those from, is is where the different species you're going to get. Is that, am I way off base here? Or am I correct?
No, that's right. Their country of origin is usually the best indicator for what type of coffee it's going to be, what the beans will look like. But there's, even within countries, there's different types of coffees, depending on the altitude at which they were grown, or just the farm in general. You might get a pea berry that, they only grow in one specific part of this country or that, and you've got just regular, beans grown in the rest of the country, something like that. So a lot of them go away for a while, depending on, the political structures and, things that are going on in the country. Sometimes it's dangerous for the farmers to sell or take things to market, or they might have a really wet season, and so their crop yield just wasn't great, or they have a drought and things like that. So you're always getting something new. It's actually something that I won't say we're struggling with, but we're trying to figure out how to do blends to where they taste the same year to year, batch to batch, or even just, because we can only source so many bags of these beans, and then to find something similar and roast it so that the blend itself tastes the same. That's something that we're trying to figure it out still.
Right. So you can get a consistent product let's say if I order Arabica, how do you pronounce that? Arabica?
Arabica. Yeah.
Arabica. So you order an Arabica from Stirling Roastery, you'll get the same tasting coffee every time.
Right. We only roast Arabica. There's 3 different types of coffees. One's not really well known. The other is Robusta. That's more of your instant coffees. And then there's Arabica, which is most of what you get on your store shelf. But there's commodity grade Arabica that, your McDonald's and your Seattle's Best, they use that. And it's a lower grade coffee. And then what we're doing is actually specialty grade. So it's the higher end. And those are really quality cups of coffee that you're just not going to find on a store shelf.
Right. So you're doing the same thing you did with your soap company, where you take an artisan product where you source it from the best ingredients, and you're doing the same thing with coffee.
Right. That's exactly right.
It felt like a natural pivot to once we had once we had Stirling soap up and running and it was becoming a profitable venture. Coffee felt like a perfect pivot, because if you're willing to pay more for a better bath soap or a better shave and better lotions, things like that, chances are you're not drinking Folgers or Maxwell House. Mm-hmm. Or if you are still drinking stuff like that, you're at least open to the possibility of trying something different. And that's what we're basing the entire business on. And so far it's been successful. We've been able to convert a lot of people that are, I'm a cup of Folgers my whole life, or I only drink Starbucks or whatever. And then they try something that is, a really high quality bean, but also freshly roasted and freshly ground. And they realize just the same as going from, Irish Spring to one of our bath soaps, mm-hmm. It's really hard to go back to the subpar product once you've had something better.
It's interesting you say that. I don't shave that often. I'm in my 40s and I only have to shave once a week. I would just buy the cheapest, and I even found this lotion that I wouldn't even have to buy the shave gel or shave foam. It was a lotion that you buy at Walmart, and you put it on and you shave it off, And I tried your one of your shaving soaps because my wife got me a gift set years ago, and it had the mug, the shaving mug. And my grandfather used one of those growing up. I can remember him using that. It had the the brush, and I remember watching him put it on, and I was like, man, I want to try that. So anyway, she got me the gift set, and it took years to use that soap. There was a little puck, and And so I started using that lotion, and then you guys came on the scene, and I was like, I want to try this out. I watched some of your YouTube videos on, the ins and outs of kind of how to do it, how you're supposed to, I don't know the verbiage, but really you keep moving working the brush on the soap until you get, it almost looks like whipped cream or meringue or something in it. And it's like a really stiff peak. And I used that, and
absolutely.
And I was amazed, especially when you use like a real razor instead of like a disposable Bic, or, the newest now is like 5 blades. You don't need 5 blades. You need one sharp blade, and you can do one pass, maybe 2 if depending on the direction of your hair growing. But I was amazed at just the time that it took to shave, and the effect that it has. It's a routine. It's in my routine every Sunday, and it's almost like a meditative state that you get from the process of, the cup, the mug, and the hot water, and the steaming towel on your face. And it's just, that's the one time a week that I have set aside that's kind of to pamper myself. If the whole week is I'm busy bell to bell for everyone else, for the business, I have that to look forward to, and it kind of helps you reboot. After that, I feel like I've been on a vacation for a week. I don't want to overstate what it is, but it really it's rejuvenating.
Now, it's that way for a lot of wet shavers. There's quite a few wet shavers that it becomes their morning routine, where they're going to take 10, 15 minutes, and they're going to lock the bathroom door, and it's their world. They're like you said, they're pampering themselves, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's actually something really good to do for yourself, to slow down just a few minutes a day. Put on some music while you shave, and just enjoy waking up in the morning and do something that's, more than just 5 minutes, get this hair off my face as fast as possible. And, it may cause bumps and ingrown hairs at the end of it.
Right.
And honestly, that was why I switched from regular razors to begin with. When I was still in the Army, when we were shaving daily, and I was using a Schick, one of the 3 blades at the time. And, you shave daily, then you go do PT in the morning, and you come back, and I would get really bad razor burn, but I also had a really bad issue with ingrown hairs. And switching over to wet shaving and actually taking a few extra minutes, but using a good shaving soap instead of cream out of a can, but using, like you said, a single blade razor, just a double-edged safety razor instead of something with 3 or 5 blades, made a huge difference for my skin. And, and now it's just, I've been doing it for 11 years now, and it's just routine for me at this point. I'm not pampering myself anymore. This is just me shaving.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, a replacement blade for one of my razors is going to be in the range of 10 cents to 25 cents. Whereas a replacement Mach 5 is going to run you, $4 at least,
mm-hmm.
depending on where you buy your pack of razors.
Right.
So it's, a 4-pack at Walmart's at least $15, $16. So, I can get 100-pack of my blades for that much.
I noticed another thing with your Stirling soap brand. It has somewhat of a cult following. I assume you're on Reddit. I don't know if you know it, but your product is on Reddit a lot. And even on your Facebook page, there are people that are asking, we heard that you were coming out with this stainless steel head. When is it going to be out? You said it was two years away. So you have a really hyper focused and loyal client base. Does that have anything to do with the design, or has it more to do with the product?
It's a product. I mean, it's the entire company value. We treat our customers really well. I mean, we're known as the best value in shaving. We don't charge nearly even close on a per ounce basis what our competitors do. And part of that is just me. I price according to what I think I would be willing to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not prone to just throwing money down the drain. Not that shaving is throwing money down the drain, but I consider myself frugal. So we have a really good pricing model, but we've got really exceptional customer service, and we have a really good product. Our soaps and everything that we offer, that we don't put out junk. It's good stuff, and I think we've been able to successfully build a loyal following because we're exactly the kind of American company that people want to support.
If you look what's going on right now with the Wall Street bets thing, the establishment is, for all intents and purposes, establishment and corporate everything, they're scammering. They know that the curtain has been pulled back, and what people want are products, services, and they want to do business with people, real people. And I think that's what you offer.
Donnie, that sums it up pretty well. I mean, we're in our 10th year in business, and we have an 800 number on our website, but it just routes to my phone. So when somebody calls, it's going to be me answering. Still to this day, somebody sends us an email on the contact form on the website, 9 out of 10 times it's going to be me answering it. Due to that, and the fact that we are a small husband and wife owned company, there are some times where I may just not be able to pick up the phone, and or it may take me a little bit back to respond to an email, but we take care of everything. And that I think you're right. I mean, that's a lot of people are looking for companies like that, and we fit the bill.
Kind of what I wanted to do in this show is to introduce people to local options. A lot of times you may pay a little bit more, but your dollar is staying close to home. It's going to be reinvested back in your community. A lot of people don't know that. So when you buy a product from Walmart, most of your money's going to some corporate office. Some of it goes to China. A little bit goes back to the workers, but except for the taxes, a little bit of the taxes, that money's leaving your community.
Yep. Yeah, that's even on a micro scale, gross domestic product matters. And if you have more money leaving your town than you have coming in, your town's going to start shriveling and dying. And that's basically what we've seen with Booneville over the last 40 years. Today's Kids is gone, Ace Combe and Bowling Ball, the Cargill plant's gone, and those places aren't coming back. So if you're spending more money that's leaving your town than you are selling products that is bringing money in from outside, you're going to have a negative GDP, and you are going to be dying as a town. And that's what we're trying to correct here. We've had, since we did open the shop here, we moved back to Arkansas in 2014 in August, but we didn't actually move into a retail location here until May of 2019. And, the money that we got, we started in the one building, then the second one next to it. And there were pretty dilapidated buildings that are now cleaned up and look really nice. And then we bought the 3 across the street, and we're, the Skinner building complex. We've got one of the 3 fully restored. Mm-hmm. We're in the midst of restoring the other 2. And we bought the theater and the 2 buildings next to the theater. And once we're done with the Skinner buildings, that's likely going to be our next project. So, I mean, we're doing our best to keep the money here locally and to help the quality of life here. So
do you have a soft ETA on the latter of the projects you mentioned there, or is it?
Honestly, it's going to depend on Booneville itself, because right now the economic conditions they're not conducive to reopening the theater, partially because of COVID, and a lot of people aren't going out and mm-hmm. doing things like that anymore, but partially Booneville is going to have to reinvent itself. And, Booneville gets an inordinate amount of traffic coming through on Highway 10 and Highway 23, mm-hmm. but usually it's just drive-through traffic, or they might stop and get gas, or they're going to Walmart and then they head back outside of town. Really, the biggest draw for out of town people is probably Reed's. The 3 days that they're open, they bring people from pretty far away in to come and eat. And until a bigger portion of the town has been cleaned up of some of the dilapidated areas and alcohol has been legalized in Booneville, it's probably going to be, the theater will probably just remain vacant, just simply because it's going to take a huge investment to get the theater restoration done.
Right.
And we just can't justify it until the economic conditions are more favorable. And I understand that's going to take a lot of changing of mindsets for a lot of people around here, because Booneville has been a dry township for so long.
Well, it's time. We understand now with the legalization of marijuana, and it doesn't matter what side of the issue you're on, it's a plant. People don't get high on marijuana and go murder people or beat their wives, and we know that it has medicinal properties. We know that we've been lied to. Yes, anything that you abuse is bad, whether it be food, alcohol, marijuana, prescription pills. So I think we've moved beyond the point of saying, hey, you as an adult can't be trusted in, taking care of your own body. We're going to take that right away from you. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's time. So what do you think our next step as a community is to change that mindset, to kind of shift over to the reinventing ourselves, like you said?
Well, I mean, it's going to take first, and it's going to take our local government leadership being willing to take up the issue to allow alcohol. There's a handful of things. I sit on the executive board for the Chamber of Commerce, and I know that we have a hotel, we have a restaurant. Like I said, us with the theater, there's 3 businesses that are willing to build in Booneville the minute that alcohol is legal here. And that's not hearsay. That's direct from talking to these people. But like the hotel chain, that they understand that their clientele coming in has a certain expectation when they're visiting from out of town to be able to, like you said, be treated like an adult and be with an expectation that they can sit down and have a beer at the end of their work day. And they're not willing to build here until the alcohol legalization is taken care of. And I said that the restaurant thing, honestly, I could see, anybody that's been to MJ's north of Booneville, every day they're open, they're full.
Right.
And to anybody that's from Booneville that's been in there, half the people that are in there are from Booneville. So it's not like having something like that illegal in Booneville is stopping it from happening. And there's the people that will drive to Fort Smith to patronize restaurants. It's past time, but it's going to take a concerted effort by the citizens that want to see it cleaned up, but also it's going to take a willing and listening set of elected officials here to move the process along.
So do you think that the elected officials that are currently in place are holding that back? Or do you think that...
I can't speak for that. I honestly, we're having not grown up around here. I'm hesitant to get into the
politics of it. I understand.
Politics and the names behind the power and everything like that. I just know that Booneville is really well positioned to take advantage of the traffic that comes down 10 and 23 from people out of state on their way to Mount Magazine. And we don't do that right now. Usually, you drive into town and you see some of the rot among some of the residential and commercial areas in Booneville, and you're gonna keep on driving.
Right.
And we could change that, but it's gonna require adapting to the fact that it's no longer 1919.
Right. And we don't have the industry, nor will there be the industry with the current path that the country is on. The only hope we have is change. We have to adapt. If we don't adapt, you go the way of the dodo bird. So I agree with you totally.
There's quite a few people here that resent kind of what we do because they are resistant to change. But the truth of the matter is, I've got 3 boys that are growing up here, and I want them to have a clean town that they're proud of, and they can take civic pride and living and saying they're from Booneville.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I want to create economic conditions here that, when my boys are grown, if they want to have a good job, they're not required to move out of Booneville or drive an hour to Fort Smith
Mm-hmm.
to go to that job. And that's the truth right now. Unless you're going to work as a school teacher here or in one of the very few limited businesses, a good number of the people they're going to watch their kids grow up and move off to greener pastures.
Exactly.
For me, this is where we are. And if my kids do want to live here, I want them to have the ability to do so without having to live in abject poverty.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. I could not agree with you more. What does it take to become a business owner? Kind of to the history of your company. I mean, how did you come up with the idea? How long did it take for you to just jump in and start it? Or kind of give us an idea of how it all began.
We taken a trip over to Scotland, and we were living their way of life and everything, and it's a much slower, much more natural way of life, and it was a life-changing trip for us. We came back and we're just thinking of ways that we could bring that home. And while we were there, it was, I don't know, it was just a life-changing trip, I guess. And so I was working as a government contractor at the time, wasn't really happy in my position, but we couldn't afford to. It had taken me 2 years to find that job even. So it was like, well, I can't quit. We had a baby on the way. And so we thought, well, how can we do this? So we thought of soap, and as a way to bring that little piece of Scotland back, a natural soap. Of course, it's a really saturated market. So we thought, how can we make ourselves different?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big part. You have a lot of companies that start up and they try to mimic another person's product or business model and things. And we wanted to set ourselves apart. And so we started out with bath soap, and, we wanted to do it naturally, but our biggest thing was we wanted it to be something that someone uses daily. We
Mm-hmm.
never used natural soap before we started our company because it was kind of a novelty type item. And, maybe you get gifted something that looks really artistic and pretty, and so you don't want to use it. And so we wanted something that would be someone's daily driver, is what we call it. And
Right.
Rod had started wet shaving, so we've morphed into shave soap, and we hustled. Rod was on forums. He was sending out free samples and tweaking recipes and things like that until we came up. But our biggest thing was that we always did it in an affordable way to the customer, so that they would come back and buy. It wouldn't be a special occasion type thing.
So, were you both natural entrepreneurs? Did you grow up selling sports cards, or?
Not really. This was
my mom had a bakery for a while. My dad had a welding business for a while, but those were all side jobs and more hobby-like type things. We never, even when we started dreaming this up, we thought when we took it to the Canton Trade Days, that's where we did our grand opening with only bath soap,
Mm-hmm.
and I think 6 different scents, and we sold about a handful of bars of soap, and that was it. But before we went, we said, if we sell this much, then I can quit my job and I'll do this full time. And we dreamed it being big, but in a very small way, for what we're doing right now. So it grew into something that we I don't think ever imagined it could be. I mean, we dreamed it, we wanted it to be, but we still in the back of our minds are thinking, yeah, but it probably won't.
Mm-hmm. Do you still have those doubts? Do you still have the doubts that like, hey, this is all going to come crashing down, or are you confident that you're?
The roastery was an expansion to not put all of our eggs into one basket, especially with the the economy. Anybody at the end of the day, yeah, wet shaving is really nice, but if you're not, say you lost your job because of this or that, or, you're not making as much, you're at the end of the day going to go down and get yourself a can of foam. And so we wanted to branch out and
Right.
Not put all of our eggs in that one basket. We thought it was a good time to do that and expand.
If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you can't be averse to risk. And the initial risk, we were kind of forced into it because her job went away thanks to defense budget cuts, and then
Mm-hmm.
I got out of the Army exactly a month later, so Stirling soap was all we had.
Right.
So we had no choice but to hustle.
So you burn your bridges, so to speak.
They were burned for us. We'd have never burned them ourselves.
Okay.
I don't know that it would have taken a lot more than what it, where we were at the time as a company to say, okay, we're willing to step away from our jobs and do this. It was but God's always blessed us before we even knew that we needed it. The company really took off about 3 weeks before I got noticed that my job was going away. And so when I had to call Rod on my way home, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? He said, it's okay. We're going to be okay. And,
That's amazing. Yeah.
That was one of the ways that over the years there's been plenty of times where, money's come in just at the nick of time, or, just ways that God's taking care of us.
That's amazing. So why soap? Was it just kind of, did you guys have a brainstorming session, and in the natural process, that's the product that came to the top, or did you have a need for soap and I know some people, their products are as a result of a need, like a child that has an allergy to a product in a soap or something like that, or was
It was going back to the Scotland trip when we were up there. Part of it, we were on top of the William Wallace Monument in Stirling, Scotland, which is where our company name comes from. And we're looking down, and everything's green and well manicured. It's well manicured because they have sheep everywhere. And we noticed that, in any place that they had open field, they were running sheep through it. So that was one thing we thought, was that we should get sheep when we get home rather than have to mow. We have sheep that'll keep everything clean. We have dozens of sheep now.
Oh, you do?
As we were talking this, yes.
Oh, wow.
We were talking through the idea about sheep. It was like, well, we can use them for maintenance of our property. We can, use the meat, we can use the wool, whatever, and we can use the tallow to make soap. And we were talking about, making the sheep soap. It kind of clicks like, hey, let's try our hand at making soap when we get back from the trip. And the minute we got home, we started ordering supplies and started doing it as a hobby. And it, like I said, that's kind of where the soap was born from.
Wow. So that one experience changed the path of your entire lives and for future generations to come.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Wow. So I have a question, a personal preference. Do you prefer the bar soaps, or do you prefer to use in your home the liquid bath soaps?
Bar. 100% the bar.
Okay, that's
The liquid's good. It's we had a lot of questions over the years about it. We did a ton of research on it to see what it would take for us to manufacture liquid soap, and every time it was this, okay, but we don't have the space to allow it to sit. You have to let it sit, and Rod calls it rotting. I call it maturing. And we don't have the physical space in our store or our production area to do something like that. So it was like, okay, so we had it manufactured out of that that is our only software item that we had manufactured for us. And we had to buy a lot of it to justify the expense. And it's a natural product. And but people didn't love it the way that they said that they would, and it just hasn't sold terribly well. It's a good product. It's not as moisturizing as our bar soap, but in terms of like, you got a loofah, squirt it on there and it suds up just like your detergents that you can buy from the big box stores. And that's exactly what it is. It's for those that aren't interested in bar soaps, but they're looking for a natural soap and they're looking for something in our scents. And so that's what we gave them.
That's one thing that really turned me on to your products are the scents. Like my shaving soap, it's Nag Champa. I won't get into Nag Champa. That'll take me all down on a different rabbit trail. But all the different scents that you have available, just walking in the store, it's amazing. It's an amazing experience just to go in there and to smell all that. So how do you come up? Do you test new scents, and how do you source the products for those different scents?
Yeah, we get a lot of requests for scents, but we also do a lot of our own research on what's popular, but we also do a lot of experimentation for when we're creating new scents. So if we find something, we hit upon a formula, or we find something like a Cologne Duke or something like that we think will sell well in our lineup, we'll try it out. And if it does, we expand it out into other product lines. As far as sourcing the scents, we have a couple of fragrance houses we work with. We also buy pure plant-based essential oils from a handful of different retailers for that. We buy them in bulk and store them at the shop, and we'll use them for our own blends. And it's just, it's something that we're constantly evaluating who we work with and constantly evaluating the quality of what they send us and making adjustments as needed.
So what would be one of the advantages of using a bar soap over a liquid soap? Like, is it the ingredients in there that are better for your skin?
Typically, a bar soap is going to have a much more friendly ingredients label, because there's oils that you can use in a bar soap that you're not going to be able to use in mass in a liquid soap, because those oils are solid at room temperature. But also, one of the big things, and this is one of the bigger things for me, there's no plastic. I mean, I open a box of bar soap, and that box will be gone once a few months after it hits the landfill.
Right.
Whereas you buy a bottle of Axe or Old Spice liquid body wash off the shelf at Walmart, and that bottle is going to be around for a long time.
We use some of our products have like a plastic wrap, our refill shave pucks, our sample pucks, and not for too much longer, our shampoo bars. But that's it's called a biolefin. It's a biodegradable plastic, and it breaks down in, how long is it?
Starts breaking down in 18 months, and by 3 years, it's completely gone.
Yeah. That's a big thing that we've gotten over, not a big thing, but one of the things that customers have asked us to not use plastic on our products, and we have to go back to them and say, well, it's actually, biodegradable plastic and everything. But, as soon as we could, afford to do it, we did move over into boxes. The plastic was, even with it being a upgraded biodegradable plastic, it was still cheaper than what we would spend on paper boxes. And a lot of our customers, we polled them over the years, and they said, most of them said we don't mind it, or, do what's cheapest or whatever. But being an affordable product, you have to take into account packaging and things like that, how it affects the end look of the product, as well as, what you can price it for.
Right. So how do you stay in touch with your customers? Do you use email campaigns, or just when you're doing a poll, do you just call them up?
Email campaigns, social media, just about any way we can. But email campaigns are typically the best. If someone signs up for a newsletter, we don't bombard them or spam them by any means. They might get at most 3 emails a month, but typically it's going to be 1 or 2. And we've got various social media channels that we'll post photos of new stuff and things like that. But that's really it. Our best friend really is word of mouth. That's our best way of gaining new customers.
And how did you build your website? Is it WordPress? You do it yourself, or did you outsource that?
Mandy handles all the websites. She's got a master's in educational technology, so a lot of that was building websites. So we use Shopify for our web store, and then Mandy handles all the actual design. Okay,
so one thing I found browsing through your social medias, I found a blog from way back in 2011. It looks like you guys were running like 6,966 miles. Do you want to talk about that, or did you forget about that?
I can't believe you found that.
It was that was my third trip to Iraq, and it was the first one that I had done while she and I were married, and we knew that it was going to be a difficult year. We'd miss each other, so something that we wanted to do together is we kept the blog going, and we would run. She would do runs. She was living in Fayetteville, going to school at U of A at the time while I was gone, and I was about 30 minutes south of Baghdad.
Wow.
And so whenever I would go for a run, I would post the miles and she would post it. We were trying in a year to run the amount of miles it was between Baghdad and Fayetteville, Arkansas. Didn't quite get there, but we had
family members that would, we asked for them to walk for us or bike for us, or, if they went on runs and things like that, to donate their mileage to us to help us get there. Because, obviously we'd have to run a significant amount during the day. And, he was on a really small base there. And so, we'd have to make a serious effort to just the two of us run it. So it was a way for our family to also stay connected to us and feel like they were contributing to helping us stay close and connected to each other.
It was a really great idea. And one thing I noticed is that you, during the process, you read the entire Bible. That's pretty notable as well.
Yeah, that was part of it too. We, I think it was 4 chapters a day is what we figured it up, that we would read. And then, he or I or both of us, I think on some days we would get on and talk about what we read and how we feel about it and things like that. So that was it. He and I were both in the Army, so we understand the distance that you feel when you're away from each other. And we saw personally a lot of marriages fail due to the distance and not striving to stay close and communicate with each other and things. So that was something that, we knew we wanted it to be a priority for us, and
definitely
it worked for us for sure.
So do you see, and it may already happen, any kind of cross-pollination between the roasting and the soap company? Hopefully not soap to coffee, but vice versa.
I mean, most of our coffee customer base is their previous customers of our soap company.
Oh, I was speaking more to like using the coffee scents or flavors to incorporate those in with your soaps. Is that something that you guys have looked into?
We may eventually do a coffee scrub or a bath soap that has coffee grounds in it as an exfoliant, but we don't do any flavored coffees. All the coffee notes that are listed they're just inherent to the beans. We're not adding any flavors to them. So
I see.
Short of just using some coffee grounds in our products over there, that's probably going to be the most crossover we have.
We did try to think of some blends that would be close in their notes, that, we do like an executive blend or a Haverford blend, something like that, just as a nod to the sister company. But it's pretty difficult to find coffees with pineapple notes, and Haverford is a tobacco. I don't know how many people would really want to drink a coffee that that has a tobacco note. So,
Well, so what advice would you give to a young person, 18, 19, getting ready to graduate from Paris or Booneville, or what advice would you give to them?
Don't be scared of hard work, for one. Turn off the TV, turn off the video games, get off TikTok and social media, and figure out what you like to do and figure out a way to monetize it, or figure out something that you are good at and figure out a way to monetize it. I mean, there is a complete lack of but there's a lack of teaching entrepreneurial skills in our public education system anymore. It's all work hard and you can go get a good job with somebody. Well, how about work hard and go be your own boss?
Right.
Start something. A 19, 20-year-old kid right now could go get work as an electrician's apprentice or a plumber's apprentice here and basically write their own paycheck.
Right.
There's such a dearth of contractors around this area. Trying to find someone, you're going to be 5, 6, 7 months out getting anything done, and half the time, if you can get someone, they're going to be less than skilled. But and not only that, you look at like what Liberty Informatics down the street from us. They're doing web design and electronic services here out of Booneville, Arkansas. That's the kind of things that will help Booneville grow, because while they will benefit from a flourishing local economy, they can do their work for anyone in the world for a lot of their things that they do.
Right.
It's just a matter of being willing to think outside the box, but also being willing to hustle. Being willing to make the sacrifices it takes to get your foot in the door and build a foothold.
Right.
So, so that your business has a solid foundation. And now, here we are in year 10 of Stirling, and if I want to sleep in like I did today because I wasn't feeling well, I'm gonna sleep in, and the business is going to continue to run.
Right. Also, work isn't like work when you're doing it for yourself. It's not like if you're an employee and you're working, it's a lot more taxing on I would say it's a lot more stressful. Whereas with the hours that you put into your own job, your own business, it's a lot like a hobby, I guess. I guess what you were saying was, you find something you're good at and monetize it. So basically you're monetizing your hobby, so to speak.
Yeah, there's different stressors when you're owning and running your own business. Like, an employee doesn't have to worry about where's my, am I going to have enough money or something like that to pay my employee. Those are things that I won't say we worry about, but those are things that we have to consider when we're looking to start a new project or something like that. But yeah, if the kids need to go to the doctor, I don't have to worry about taking time off of work necessarily. Or will the orders go out the door if I have to make a supply run to Fort Smith or something like that? We had our last son, our third son, was born in April, and he spent a week in the NICU, and I didn't have to worry about, I've got soap and things to make, because, we had employees doing that work. So it's, it's a different kind of worry, I guess.
Right. Well, looks like I've taken up about 45 minutes of your time, and I really appreciate you guys coming on. I would like to have you back on to go a little more in depth on how the sausage is made, so to speak, on some of your businesses and the exciting things to come for you guys, if you're open to that.
Absolutely, we'd love to. I hope the channel continues to grow for you, and it'd be neat to have something like this that, like you said, that is blasting out and showing people what is going on in Booneville, and maybe they'll get a better feel for what's happening and what people are trying to do here to make this a nicer place to live.
Maybe be curious enough to come and drive down,
Right, definitely. And naturally, you have dreams in what you're doing. But one thing I wanted to ask is, did you, as far as your planning for your business, before I let you go, sorry, I got one more question. During the research and development phase of your business, when you were in Scotland, got back from Scotland, did you sit down and write out what your goals were, your short-term, long-term, and then act on them? Or was it something that you just, you guys, I had a previous guest on, he said that he calls it a pantser. He went by the seat of his pants. Was it more like that, or was it more structured and you wrote out your goals short and long?
Well, we did have goals, and we talked at length about where we wanted to take the company and what we thought it could look like in X amount of years. But we also realized that starting up, we didn't have a good grasp of where we would be led. And so a lot of our initial plans got torn up, and we had to adjust on the fly based on what worked.
Right. And that's what I'm finding out is you need to make a plan, but your plan's not going to be exact. You're going to have to shift. But without that plan, you're just kind of out to sea without a rudder, but
there are things that we're rigid on and have remained rigid on, specifically our pricing model and our customer service and things like that. We are rigid on foundational principles, but everything else, you have to be open to where the invisible hand of the market moves you.
Right.
And that's what we try to do. We try to remain as nimble as possible.
All right. Well, with that, I will let you guys go. I do appreciate you guys coming on. Again, I can't tell you how much it means to me that you did. And I hope that people hear this and go see your products, buy them, the Stirling Soap Company and Stirling Roastery. You can find them on Facebook. If you want to, go ahead and give out your website and your contact info.
Sure. The soap company is stirlingsoap.com, STIRLINGSOAP.com. And then the roastery is just same thing, stirlingroastery.com. But I mean, the best thing for local people is just to come in, because you're not going to be paying shipping, and we give, a cash discount in person as well.
Right. Yeah, I noticed that. I bought a gift set for one of my clients in Fort Smith to kind of introduce them to your products. And they were like, if you're paying cash, it's cheaper. I'm like, oh, well, we should have known that. So bring cash. It's cheaper.
Thank you again for having us, Brian. It's been fun.
You bet. Thank you guys for coming on. You guys have a good day.
You too.
You too.